This is Carla, and welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. Bear with me for one little second here. I apologize if the camera is moving all over the place. What I am trying to do is to kind of have this all level so everything looks good. So just bear with me. I should have this here in a second. Just trying to get it straight. Okay, I think we are good. Yeah, it's not bad. My cute little level I showed this a couple of times. Um 3-inch acrylic. It's got the blue liquid in it, and it was fairly inexpensive on Amazon. So let me get this started with my laptop, and let me get this all kind of centered in here before we start. So, Throwback Thursday, if you're new here to my channel, welcome. Uh, every Thursday, I do a Throwback Thursday video. This is where I pull in a retired product. That is what I have a whole lot of, and the sad reality is there's a lot of the product that has not even seen ink on it yet. So I'm kind of doing my part in, using these stamp sets that I purchased, using designer series paper, just using what I have, because it is starting to all like kind of add up, because Stampin' Up keeps on coming out with more new stuff. So of course, all the cool stuff. And yeah, so that's kind of like where I am at here in my studio. And I'm sure that there's plenty of you out there that you have that same situation. Maybe you have these older stamp sets that you used them back when at the time when they came out, and now they just kind of are put away with all the other stamp sets, and then you don't really think much of them. So every Thursday I do a pre-recorded video, and I have that scheduled to post hopefully at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time every Thursday morning. Uh, for this Thursday, I decided that I was going to go back to around the time when I first became a demonstrator. I became a demonstrator back in October of 2013. This was the year that Stampin' Up! Was celebrating their 25th anniversary. And so, if you know me, I love coffee. I mean, it's just my one thing. So whenever I see like a stamp set, I mean, even one time we had a suite or a bundle, anything that has to do with coffee, I am like all over it. And so the stamp set is just a really simple standalone stamp set. It is our red rubber cling. There's just 3 images in this. You've got your sketched image of a coffee cup, and then you have two really fun looking two greetings with some really fun font on there. So we got coffee and friends are the perfect blend, and given enough coffee, I could rule the world temporarily. So this again, it's a standalone stamp set, and you can see how old it is because this was back at the time where they had like that pair of pizzazz colored um, inserts for the stamp sets. Even the packaging was this color green with the brown. So things have changed over the years. So again, yeah, this stamp set just has like these three images in it. There's no dies, there's no punches that are part of this. As a matter of fact, the 2 cards that I'm going to do, it is going to result in fussy cutting this cup, but it's not too bad. And It's not a whole lot, so I can do it. If you know me, you know that fussy cutting is not really my jam, but when you need it, then you have no choice in the matter but to have to fussy cut. So let me see. There's a couple of other retired products that I am going to be using as well, and I will show you those as I go. So let me start off with bringing in the stuff that is for um, my first project, and also show you a little bit of what kind of inspired me on the color combination that I chose for this card. I mean, you can see like this stuff here, and you think, wow, that's kind of an interesting color combination, which it is. But let me explain where the inspiration comes from. So, it goes this way. So I had purchased last year the Color Cubes Volume 1 and 2. These were put out by Sarah Renee Clark. Let me just show you. So there are two volumes to it. So this is one of the original volumes. So this is cube number 1. Inside of it, you have all of these cards, and you can see the way I'm going to show you what the new ones look like, but you can see that the cards are flush with the top of the box. So it was a little challenging, when it came to like trying to get the cards out and there being space to kind of like move. And you can see there's no like little index cards to this. But so I had gotten these last year. And, at first, I was using them to kind of inspire me on my color combinations. But unfortunately, they looked really pretty on my Calyx unit behind me. And I really didn't use them too often. And I had, was it a couple of weekends ago? I was, working on some projects. So, as a matter of fact, it was the second weekend to the end of the month of October. And my last two Friday night lives that I did, they were Halloween themed. I used the Fright Night bundle. Was it the week before Halloween? And then on Halloween, I had done the spooky suite. And so I know that the people that come on that regularly are with me and watch, when I'm live. Some people don't really do Halloween. So at the end of all of my Friday night lives, I do a card giveaway. I give away one of the 3 cards that I make that night. And being that it was Halloween and knowing that, not everybody does Halloween, I gave people the option that if I chose their name, that if Halloween wasn't their thing, they didn't want a Halloween card, I just said, okay, we'll pick a card based on the layout, and then I will create a card that's not Halloween and I would send it to you. So that's what happened that night when I did that Fright Night bundle. Somebody had won. They went for the one layout, and then it was like, okay, now I got to come up with a card that isn't Halloween themed. So, as a matter of fact, let me kind of bring in, I did print this out. Yeah, if I can get it out. Let's see, I think I got it in here. Do I not have it in here? No, I don't. Okay, this isn't good when things are not the way they should be. Oh, come on. Not really prepared here, are I? Are I? Yeah, I can't talk either. Yeah, I don't have the picture here. Okay, never mind on that. I was going to show you, I did print out a picture of what the original card looked like, and then what the, oh wait, hold on, is this it? Yes. Yes, this is it. It's not a very good printout, but this was the card that I made that night. Of course, you can see it's Halloween themed. And then this is the card that I made that you can see is not Halloween, but it's the same layout. I used the same dies. I just changed up the paper and the embellishments and even the stamp that I used. And so to inspire me on this color combination, I had used one of the color cube cards. And so this one had like what now these colors on these cards, these are not Stampin' Up colors at all. So what I do is when I look at these colors, I kind of pull the colors that are Stampin' Up that closely resemble these. So this one was like crumb cake, old olive, pumpkin pie, Cajun craze, and then early espresso. Again, it looks a little washed out, so the color's not as dark, but based off the color combination, this is kind of like how I came up with this card. So I decided that, okay, I'm going to start utilizing these color cubes, in my creating my sample projects for my videos. So it turned out that that same weekend or next weekend, very close, I saw on YouTube that Sarah Renee Clark had another video out that was in regards to her color cubes. Well, all of that feedback, like I was saying, that she had gotten, she had revamped volumes number 1 and 2. And then on top of that, she came out with volumes 3 and 4. Now, other than there being now 4 like new cubes, the first 2, most of the cards from the original 2 are in there, but there's also some that have that were retired. So on the cubes now, you can see that there's you can access the cards a little bit easier because this part is now lower. And then there's also all these little index tabs on different subjects like Cakealicious, cyberpunk, fantasy, pastel tones, vintage vibes, etc. And so you can look at kind of take a quick glance at the color combinations. And if you see, if one just kind of stands out, then I pull that out and then I'll make my card, pulling those those particular colors that are equivalent to a Stampin' Up color. So that's where this card comes from. As a matter of fact, I think it may come out of this box too. So lots of inspiration that I have in those boxes. So I have, what is it? There's like 500 cards per box. So, yeah, there's like 2,000 plus, well, really 3,000 for with the original 2. But I decided this is how I was going to kind of put together these cards. And so so on these cards you have like an image, and then these color swatches right here are colors that are pulled out of this image. And then on the back there are the color names, there are hex codes, and then there are different like shadings of this particular color. So again, not Stampin' Up colors, but I look at it and I see what can I use that are Stampin' Up colors to then kind of put this card together. Now, some of the colors that I use, like this one, but in particular that they call Beaver, I used Pebbled Path, and that's a retired color. Now, being that it is a Throwback Thursday card, I can bring in retired colors. So this kind of like worked. I thought that this was a very interesting color combination. So that's this particular card, number 861, is what inspired this particular card. So with that, let me tell you what I have here. So for my card base, I have Early Espresso that measures 8.5 by 5.5. It's scored at 4.25. I have a piece of Pebbled Path that measures 5.25 by 4. And ahead of time, I did emboss it. This embossing folder came from the Basics 3D embossing folder. So there are a set of 3 in this set. This was an online exclusive, I think, was it last year? I think it was either last year or very, very early this year. These have since retired, but I used this little crosshatch design on this one, and then there's this other image that I actually used on the next card, and then this other embossing folder in here. It has these really large, deep, if I can get it out. So this is the one that we're going to use on our next card, but can't get them out. But then you also have one that has these really like deep type of dots in it. So a really fun set of embossing folders. Kind of sad that they are now retired, but really cool embossing folder. So there's that crosshatch. Then I have a piece of, this is the Brights Designer Series paper. Now, every year there's a new 6x6 pack that comes out in all the color collections. This particular pattern is out of the package that we currently have in our annual catalog. So there is Berry Burst. Then I have, okay, let me pull this out. Another item that's retired. Then I have a piece of pecan pie. This measures 4 by 2.25. And this too was embossed ahead of time. I used the Swirls and Curls Textured Impressions embossing folder. This was back at a time when Sizzix was making our dies and our embossing folders for Stampin' Up. So this is long since retired, but I just think it's a really fun pattern on this. So again, that's embossed ahead of time. And then I have a piece of, let's see, this piece of Smoky Slate measures 2.5 by 2.25. This is going to actually be a layer on my card. And then I have another piece of Smoky Slate. This, just a scrap piece, I'm going to stamp and I'm going to punch my greeting out on this piece. And then I have another scrap piece. This is basic white. I'm going to stamp my cup on here, color it, and then fussy cut it as well. So to start, I'm going to take my card base, I'm going to fold, and I'm going to burnish this. Okay, I'll set that aside. Actually, I can assemble this card. I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. And I'm going to adhere this embossed piece here, my Pebbled Path, onto my card base. And then even the idea for the layout of the card, I just simply went out on Pinterest and I looked up card sketches, particularly card sketches with measurements. So really this card just really all the inspiration, it didn't come from somebody else's project. It was basically chose a card sketch, chose my color combination, and then kind of worked out how I wanted this card to come together. All right, so I have that down. Then I'm going to take my designer series paper piece and I'm going to add some glue to that. Okay, and then I'm going to place this kind of like centered, but more off to the right hand side here. Okay, and then my embossed pecan pie piece. Add some glue to that. The glue that I have in this bottle is the Tombow multi-purpose glue, or like some people call it, the green glue that we sell in our catalog. I just like putting it in a fine tip glue bottle because you really don't need a lot of glue to have things stick really well. There is a latex in the glue, so all you need is just a little bit. Okay, so this piece I put down centered to the designer series paper, but more off to the left. Okay, and then I'm going to take my my Smoky Slate piece. This is the one that measures 2.5 by 2.25. And let me just make sure that I put it the right way. So we want it this way. Add some glue to the back of this. And then I'm going to kind of center it. Kind of like over here like so. Off a little bit to the left side here. So you can see it's interesting color combination, but I think this card actually came out pretty neat. All right, so we have our base kind of put together now. I'm going to take this scrap piece of Smoky Slate. I'm going to bring in the greeting that says, "Given enough coffee, I could rule the world temporarily." And I need my cup as well, so might as well pull that out. And then, let's see, I have my 1.5 inch circle punch. We're going to punch out our greeting with that. Let me get a block. I need a bigger block for my coffee cup. And then for my greeting, put that on there like so. And then the ink that I'm going to use for this, I'm going to bring in Berry Burst. We're going to use that for the greeting. And then for my stamping my cup, just taking a quick peek here at what I used. I'm going to use Early Espresso because that looks like one of the colors that was in the card. Okay, we don't need that yet. All right, so let me open this up and we'll ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this kind of like somewhat in the middle, like so. Close that up. And we'll set that aside for a moment, and then I'll bring in my Early Espresso ink, and we'll ink up our cup. And I'll stamp that kind of like in the middle. Okay, so nice bold sketchy lines for that cup. All right, so we'll close that up, set that aside. Now I do want this to dry before I start coloring on it, because if the ink isn't dry, then when I go to use my Stampin' Blends, it's just going to smear that ink, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at my screen here for a minute. It seems like every time I come close to the camera, the focus kind of goes in and out. I'm going to bring this up just a tiny bit. All right. So then I'm going to take my punch. I'll punch out my image. I'll just like center that, punch that out. We'll set that aside. And we'll move that out of the way. And then for my cup, now the colors of my blends that I'm going to use on this, I have my light smoky slate, so we're going to do some of the shadowing on the lid of my cup. On the band for my cup, I have both the light and dark berry burst. And then for my cup itself, I have, let's see, I have the deep 100. So when these first came out, these are the natural tones. They went by numbers. Now they'll go by deep and medium deep and medium and all that. So this is part of the deep um um bundle, not bundle, combo. It's part of a combo pack. So the deep 100 and then the light pebbled path. So on here, I'm going to start with bringing in kind of like a scrap piece of paper, just in case I don't get the ink bleeding through onto my grid paper. I'm going to take my dark berry burst and along the left and right sides of my band for my cup, I'm just going to add some brush strokes. Okay. And then I'm going to take my light berry burst and kind of blend that. Now I'm going to go back, add some more of my dark on the sides here. Okay. And then our center will come in again and kind of blend that a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to take my Smoky Slate Light, and where there's these shadow lines, I'm just going to go over them with my light Smoky Slate. Like so. All right. And then I'm going to take my deep 100 and let's see, basically where these shadow lines are. Actually, I can't use that tip. That brush tip's a little frayed up a bit. So I'm going to just kind of go over these shadow lines here. Okay. And then I'm going to come in with my light pebble path and we'll kind of like blend all that together. So there's our cup. So definitely interesting color combination, but it looks like it all pulls together very well. So now I'm going to bring in my snips. Now I could have taken care of this beforehand, but then you wouldn't have seen the process, you know, with the stamping and the coloring. And again, it's not too bad as far as how long it takes to cut. I mean, the edges of this are pretty easy. So what I'm doing is I'm not leaving a white border. I am cutting on the actual uh, outer at that outer line. I think one of the reasons why fussy cutting is not one of my favorites is because when I do the fussy cutting, I mean, I don't know if this happens to you, but I can never get it looking like a nice clean cut. It just always looks so jagged. And yeah, and plus if there's a lot of fussy cutting to do, yeah, my hand doesn't really, it's not comfortable at all. It actually starts to hurt a little bit after cutting with the scissors for too long. So there is our cup. All right, so then I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And we'll add some to the back of our cup. We'll add two in the middle there. And let's take these backings off. Bring in our card. And then I am going to place this over to the left here on my piece of Smoky Slate. And then my greeting is going to have some dimensionals on it as well. And what I've done also on in the description of the video, I have the dimensions and the color of cardstocks and papers that I use for my cards. What I've also included too is next to, like, say for this one, dimensions for card number 1, I put it was inspired by Color Cube card number 861. So if you happen to have these cubes that, you know, if you want to see the actual card, I know seeing the actual card rather than just, you know, maybe an image, you know, like on the computer, that I find that I can get a much better take on the color, and then, you know, so that way I can compare it to, you know, like one of the Stampin' Up! Colors. Okay, so now we're going to add our embellishments. And so for this one, these are a current embellishment. These are the Charming Shimmer Faceted Dots. These are an online exclusive product. These, I believe, are part of, is it Charming Day, or Full of Charm? Full of Charm? Maybe it's Full of Charm. It's a whole suite of products. In these are fairly flat. They're faceted. And you have Petal Pink, Berry Burst, and then this is, I believe, Night of Navy. So this color is going to be perfect for this. Let me bring in my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to take, there's two different sizes on these, so I'm going to add a larger one on the bottom, and then two of the smaller ones I'm going to add over here to my Smoky Slate piece, like so. Okay, so there is the first card. So early espresso, pebbled path, berry burst, pecan pie, and then the smoky slate that I pulled in. That's the other color. So I went with as close as I could get. So there's our first one. Okay, so I did the same thing with the second card, but this time I pulled a different card, and I'll show you what that card is. So this too being a very interesting color combination on this one. So this one comes from card number 435. This card this card was part of the first set of cubes that I did get last year. I think this would have been in volume 1. Now on this one, this is in the new collection as well, but under a different number. So on this, the colors that I pulled from was Evening Evergreen, Cucumber Crush, um, what was it, like Smoky Slate, but you can see that this is a much lighter gray. This one, Dijon, what is it? Delightful Dijon, so that's a retired color. Early Espresso. Yeah, it looks like early espresso, and then this dark one being black. So for my cardstock pieces, for my card base, this is Evening Evergreen, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. This is definitely one of those greens that was a definite favorite for Christmas. Goes perfectly with cherry cobbler. Then I have a piece of Cucumber Crush cardstock. This measures 4 3/4 by 3.5. And then this one was embossed using another one of those 3D Basics embossing folders. So it's this pattern here that looks like it's got like these stars or flowers, however you want to look at it. Again, this is 4 3/4 by 3.5. Then I have a piece of Delightful Dijon. This is 4 1/4 by 1 3/4. I have a piece of Basic White. This measures 3 3/4 by 2.5. And then ahead of time, on scrap piece of Basic White, I stamped 2 of those cups using my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So these are going to be colored in, and these 2 are both going to be fussy cut out. So I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and then my Cucumber Crush piece here, I'm going to bring in my glue. And add some glue to the back of this. Okay, and then this I'm going to center on my card base like so. Get that straight. Press that down. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Delightful Dijon color and add some glue to this. And then I'm going to center this, turn my card and kind of center it. And this is going to go straight from the top to the bottom. Make sure that's all lined up. And then I'm just going to press that down. Okay, so now I'm going to take that, I'm going to set that aside. Now, for the colors in this color combination, there isn't really white. So there's like this really, really pale gray color. They call it ghost white. So for this piece of my basic white cardstock, I am going to do a little bit of ink blending using my Smoky Slate ink, but I'm going to give it just a really light touch of the color. I don't want it to be really like a dark gray or anything. I just don't want it to be white, I guess I can say, because you can see that that's definitely white. So I'm going to use my large blending brush. I'm going to kind of put ink on my brush, and then I'm going to go off on my scrap paper first, because again, I don't want this to be really dark. Just basically want to not have it be like that bright white. Because I don't think we have ever had a gray that's been very, very, very light. Smoky Slate is pretty much our lightest gray. Okay, so I don't know how well this will be seen, but it's definitely not white, because here's the white. So you can see that there's a little bit of gray color to it, but not too dark. Okay, so there's that piece. And then I'm going to bring in my early espresso color. Again, trying to use all the colors that are from that card. I'm going to bring in my block. And then for this one, I'm going to use the greeting that says, "Coffee and friends are a perfect blend." And I'm going to line this up. I'm going to kind of visually look at it and kind of line up the bottom of my greeting to this bottom edge of my block. Just kind of eyeball it. See if it's straight. And again, the way the font is, it's kind of like all kind of like jagged like. So let me open this up. And what I'm going to bring in to kind of help me in knowing how I'm lining this up, since that's so light, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet just to place that on there. And I'm going to ink this up. And I am going to stamp this down here in this bottom right hand corner, like so. And again, because the font is kind of like, it's not really straight, that looks fine. Okay. Then let's put that aside. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this piece and get my dimensionals. Add some dimensionals to the back of this. Okay. And then I'm going to center this onto this panel. Like so. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Now let's bring in our cups and we're going to do some coloring. So for this one, for my blends, I'm going to bring in my light and dark Call Me Clover. So Cucumber Crush was not a Stampin' Blend that we had, so this is kind of like the closest. I'm also going to bring in, this is a more recent retired color, the Dark and Light Wild Wheat. And again, I'm going to bring in that light smoky slate for the shadows on my cup lid. So I'm going to take and I'll take care of the lids first. And again, I'm not looking for perfect because again, the image itself is kind of sketchy looking. Not sketchy, like on the wrong side of the road. Okay. And then I'm going to start off with, let's see, we're going to start with the bands on the cup. So I'm going to bring in my dark, let's see, my dark Call Me Clover. And come in and I'll do this side. And I do want this to be darker. And then the same thing over on this side. And then we'll do the same thing on this side over here. It is a little bit easier using the brush tip to do this. However, my brush tip looks a little smashed like, and that's the thing. It doesn't take much for the tips of these to get like that. So everything's kind of like a light touch with those. Okay, and then come up the side. And I'll come back in with the dark again. Now I'm going to take my light and I'm going to color the inside here. Okay, come in with my dark again. I don't even have my paper underneath this. And I am laying down much heavier coat of the color. All right, and then one more time with my light. Okay. Then I'm going to do the rest of the cup using both my light and dark wild wheat. we'll do 1 cup at a time. Okay. And then for our second cup, and I'm not going to be bothered if I end up going outside of the line a little bit, because just like for the other card, I'm going to cut right on that stamped line. I'm not going to leave a white border around the edge of my cup. All right. Come in with my light. Okay. There's our coloring. Now we just have to cut these out. So in the description of this video, there are a few links that I do have in there. So there are links to the products that I had used. Now, the links are only for those items that are still available. Of course, those things that are retired, by the name of the product, I have retired on there. So there's no link. Also, there's a list of some items that I use, that I get off of Amazon. I have those items listed on there as well. There is a link that will take you to the online store, where you will see like all of the last chance products. Last chance products are basically those things that are retiring, that were from past catalogs and also online exclusives. That is updated every like 2 months. And so in December, it will be updated again. Some items are marked down, and then what happens sometimes, if they are still there when they go to add more stuff, sometimes those items that were discounted are discounted down a little bit more. So that no, so there's still items left that are in there. Also, if you're not working with another demonstrator and you're here in the United States, if you would like a paper copy of our current catalog. So right now we have our annual catalog, and then there's also this September through December holiday mini catalog. Also, starting in December, Stampin' Up! Will also be mailing out the new catalogs for January. During the month of November, I have the opportunity to actually do a bulk order with Stampin' Up! I just choose, like customers or whatnot from my customer manager, and I can have a catalog, have them send a catalog directly to you. It is a little cheaper doing it that way. So if you would like one of our current catalogs, just simply send me an email. My email is in the description, and let me know what catalogs you want, and then I'll be more than happy to send it out to you. And if you would like a copy of the current catalog, let's see, if you create a profile in uh, on the Stampin' Up! Website, choosing me as your demonstrator. There are two things that I do want to let you know that you do have to click on. Even if you are a customer, you may want to check this also. There are two different opt-ins that you will find on your profile that you do need to opt in for. One of them is for Stampin' Rewards. So when you place an order, if your order is a minimum of $20, you're going to receive 10% of that in Stampin' Rewards when you place your order. So you definitely want to opt in for that, because if you don't opt in for that, then any points that you would have earned for that order, you're not going to get. Also, another thing to opt into is for contact. Now, I can understand, maybe you don't want to be bombarded with a bunch of emails and all that. I'll let you know that I'm not one that's going to do that. I do a monthly newsletter, but I do not do it through like the Stampin' Up! Website. I actually do it through Constant Contact, and I do have a link for that in the description as well if you would like to receive my monthly newsletter. I actually just created one on Tuesday night with all the stuff that's happening now in November. I also have, so anything that's happening here in the studio, my video schedule, the products and stuff that I use for my Throwback Thursdays, Friday Night Lives, etc. I have that in my newsletter. And then what else? Stampin' Up! Comes out with new kits. So I have, I have like pictures of that in there as well. So there's a lot of different information that I do have in my newsletters. I typically only send it out like once a month, but sometimes I may send out another one, maybe like in the middle of the month. And that's only because Stampin' Up! Has come out with a promotion that we didn't know about ahead of time. So I just kind of send out a modified one to let you know of what's going on. But other than that, I don't send like an everyday email. I don't send a weekly email. If most, maybe twice. I know that one month, was it September? I ended up doing two additional ones because at two different times after the initial one I sent out, Stampin' Up! Had two different promotions that they did. So, but again, that's the only time I ever do more than one. So if you would like to receive that, there is a link also in the description that when you click on it, it'll ask for your first and last name along with your email address. Just put your info in there, and then I will send out the newsletter. Now, again, I mentioned that I just did it a couple of days ago, but I will see if you are new to the list, and then I'll send that one out to you that I just did as well. And I think, is that it? No, the other thing too is that um Stampin' Up! Just well, first they came out with two new kits. So that is in the online store. Also, there are some new online exclusive items as well. Okay, so as you saw, let me go back to the card really quick. So one of my cups I adhered just straight down to this base piece right here. And then my other cup I put on dimensionals. Now for my embellishments, I'm going to use the 2021 to 2023 in color opal rounds. This color right here is Evening Evergreen. So I'm going to add a few of those. Again, you have large and small, so I'm going to add one large one and then two smaller ones right there. Okay, and then there is the second card. And then here is the color cube card number 435. And then there are the colors that have inspired this card. So colors that I would not have come up with on my own as a combination. So I find that these things are a very, very useful tool. Um, they're not exactly cheap. Well, when you order the whole entire set of them, but there are a total of 4 different volumes. You can order just one of them or two of them, or if you are like me and you kind of suffer from full set syndrome, then there's all 4 of them as well. So there's my first card, and then there is the second one. So if you like the projects that I have created for this week's episode of Throwback Thursday, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, um, uh, please subscribe and then hit the notification bell. When you do that, you will know when I post a new video and also when I go live. So for my pre-recorded stuff on Thursday, I have for Thursdays, every Thursday, there's a Throwback Thursday where I'm pulling in retired product. And what I've done for this month, I actually have gone back to the time when I joined back in 2013. So this particular stamp set was in the annual catalog at that time. I think it was the 2013-2014 annual catalog that this stamp set was in. And then also from the holiday mini catalog. So that was out when I had joined. So I have pulled out some other stamp sets from that catalog as well. So a lot of like retired product from way back in like 2013 time frame. On Fridays, I use current product. So this coming Friday, I am using, what is it, the Fluffy Squirrel Bundle. So that I think is like my last fall type of cards for a video. And then after that, we're going to start hitting up Christmas. So the following Friday, I'm going to be using the Gingerbread Man bundle that's in our new holiday mini catalog. And then there is Peaceful Garden. That's a set that can be very versatile for year round because there's like really only one greeting in it that really pertains to Christmas. The paper is all blue, so nothing really looks Christmassy like, but you could use it for Christmas as well. And then my final Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving, I will be using the what is the one that I'm using? Uh, uh, traditional traditional Christmas. That will be the one right after Thanksgiving. And then when I get my paper pumpkin kit, which is going to be called Wrapped in Cheer, when I get that, I'll do a pre-recorded video of that. That's where I create one of each project that's in that kit. So I kind of do an unboxing and a putting together of the cards. And then on the first of every month, I do a monthly Christmas card inspiration. So that has already posted on the first of this month. So that's already out there. I used winter scenes on that. And then if during the month, if I end up doing maybe a special video, maybe, like for example, in October, we had World Card Making Day. So I went live that day. Then I add that to there too. So I have a whole video schedule, but take a look, on the channel. I do have a playlist set up for all my Fridays, my Throwback Thursdays, my paper pumpkin and all that. So there's a lot of videos out there. I think this is going to be like number 307. So there's lots of content you can go back and you can look at, and hopefully that inspires you. Also, when I do my Friday night lives, I also create a PDF for each of them. So in my Friday night live videos in the description, I actually have a link that takes you to my Google Drive. I have probably like 90 plus PDFs out there. There are pictures, there's the list of all the supplies. I have the dimensions. If I did any coloring, I'll let you know what I used to color with, and the embellishments. And then also where I have the date on there, if you also click on that, that's going to actually take you back to the video in which I featured that product. So there's a lot of things that I do have out there. So if you're interested, go ahead and take a peek. And again, if you like what you see, please subscribe and click that notification bell, let you know when I go live and when I've posted another video. Um, Liking, sharing, commenting, all that kind of stuff. That really does help with YouTube and getting my videos out there for more people to see. So it helps grow my channel, but then it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business as well. And all that stuff, I truly appreciate the help with that. So, again, this is my Throwback Thursday featuring the Perfect Blend stamp set. And like I said, tomorrow I will, if you're watching this on Thursday, the day that I post this, Friday the 7th, I will be featuring the Fluffy Squirrel Bundle that's in our holiday mini catalog. And I hope that you can join us. We do have a lot of fun in that chat. So until then, everybody, thank you again so much for taking the time to watch my video, and I hope to see you soon. Everyone, have a blessed one. Bye bye.